Liverpool, England. On Sunday, Carlo Pedersoli Jr. beat Brad Scott en route to a successful UFC debut. Sure, a split decision call isn't exactly the most eye-popping result, but you might want to take into account that, not even a month before beating Scott 11-5 MMA, 3-4 UFC at Liverpool's Echo Arena, Pedersoli 11-1 MMA, 1-0 UFC, had yet another 15-minute battle between the Cage Warriors' 93 headliner win over UFC vet Nicolas Dalby and stepping in for Salim Touahri at UFC Fight Night 130. Pedersoli had virtually 1 week of full-on training. Short notice calls are always tricky. But how bad was Pedersoli's? Really difficult, Pedersoli said after the FS1 televised preliminary card welterweight bout. When my coach called me, I was with a beer, with sushi, so it was really difficult. But we throw the sushi, throw the beer and come in for a UFC fight. Ultimately, though, Pedersoli saw a great opportunity and took it. And, while both his most recent wins happened via split calls, fact is that the Italian fighter is now off to a successful octagon start, with a 7-fight streak, 4 finishes, preceding it. As he said in the octagon, Pedersoli was taken aback by the dissenting scorecard. In fact, he was 100% sure he'd won. But he's not making a big deal out of it, either, not until he gets a chance to re-watch the fight and make a full assessment. Maybe the fact he was dropped in the first round, he ponders, factored in. On his end, Pedersoli said he wasn't at all fazed by the left hand that threw him off balance. In fact, he says he was actually expecting more powerful hands coming from Scott. View 14 images. On the other hand, he was surprised by how long Scott was. That took some mid-fight readjustment, but with help from his coach, they were ultimately able to come up with the perfect game plan. As for what comes after a victorious octagon debut, after the quick turnaround, Pedersoli said, at least 1 month's rest. Whatever happens after that, though, is up to his managers and the UFC. It's my first fight in the UFC, I don't want to come here and say, I want to fight him, I want to fight him, Pedersoli said. We'll see. I want to earn another 3 victories and maybe later I can speak. I want to fight this guy. If he won't use the mic time to make any requests for himself, though, the 24-year-old Italian welterweight will use it to draw attention to a compatriot who's now on a 5-fight winning streak, including a title win and a title defense at Cage Warriors. I think there's another guy ready for the UFC, that his name is Mauro Cirilli, Pedersoli said. He's the best heavyweight in Italy. Best heavyweight in Europe. I don't know why the UFC hasn't called him. For me, he's next. To hear more from Pedersoli, check out the video above. And for complete coverage of UFC Fight Night 130, check out the UFC events section of the site.